Happy Financial Fitness Friday. This is our first veteran-specific topic. And really, I kind of was explaining, even if you're not a veteran, if you're changing jobs and what to do with a 401k, this is the same thing, since TSP is just the federal government's basic 401k program. First, a disclaimer, not meant to be any specific advice or recommendations, and people have found these to be helpful, and hopefully you find it educational and useful with your getting to your own financial freedom. Some of you, Shannon, you already mentioned the website, but I post all these recordings and the slide decks for free up on the website. But like I said, I'm not the financial advisor here. I don't know everything. I've made plenty of mistakes myself, but I've learned a lot along the way, and started doing this really, offered it as a lunch and learn when people realized I had a lot of this kind of knowledge. And hopefully, you don't make the same mistakes I did, and can get even to financial freedom. He's already putting in chat. Like I said, I won't monitor chat very well, but okay. Thanks, Bridget. And we'll do
how about so we can keep Alan focused? If there's something important in chat, we call it out for him.
Sounds good. Okay, now I'm going to quickly do a quick poll. How many people are retired military? Okay, Shane, Tom, because we can't take advantage of an HSA. It's not allowed with TRICARE, since we already have healthcare, but everybody else can get on the high deductible plan and utilize an HSA, which is just an incredible resource. Anybody need more time with the questions?
Now, Alan, in reference to that, if I took out the Viasat insurance, I could I not? Or if you have TRICARE, that prohibits you from it? It
prohibits you from it. It doesn't probably prohibit you from it. It's illegal. I mean, it's not allowed, though. That's the thing. I tried because I was like,
it might let you do it, but you might get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So, I looked into it because I was like, this is incredible. I'd love to have this, but yeah, especially it's kind of frustrating because even military, it's kind of a misnomer that you have healthcare for life. As soon as you turn 65, you got to be on Medicare, and you can pay those, huge costs.
Or you pay a penalty.
Yeah, so anyway, it's okay.
Yeah, has everybody that this week?
Yeah, it's something most people don't even, you don't even realize. It's not something that's so to me, I think we should be able to have an HSA in a sense, because that you can use an HSA to cover Medicare, et cetera. Anyway, the first question: what did you do with your TSP? 2/3 of the people left it alone. One rolled it into an IRA. Another rolled it into the new company 401k. Someone cashed it out. Hopefully that wasn't a lot of money. That's not a recommended thing in my opinion. And then nothing's still in the reserves. Okay, good. But yeah, most people didn't do anything, and a lot of times that's actually the best decision in my opinion. Next question. Do you know what your TSP is invested in? Half the people do. Nearly half the people don't. One said, I think I left it in the G fund, which fortunately TSP is updated since 2018. It goes into a life cycle fund instead of the G fund. At least that's better. But I know a number of people that had it in the G fund for 15 years or something. Let's see. Okay. The third question, were your TSP contributions pre-tax or Roth or a combination? Most people, Roth was only authorized, I think, in 2013, and it wasn't really well spoken, or mentioned in the military. But half of the people, it's pre-tax. One person, all Roth, great. I wish I had done that. And then a couple of people are a combination. Others have no idea, which you can log on to the TSP website, and you can find out exactly what your percentages are and what is tax exempt, like in a combat zone, et cetera. It'll have that broken out.
Are you taking questions now?
What's that?
Are you taking questions now?
Anytime. Yep.
So is there a cap for contributing to a Roth?
The cap is the same. Okay, so the cap for this year for a 401k for deferred contributions is $22,500. If you turn 50 this year, you get catch-up contributions of an additional $7,500. But there's actually a larger number under the whole umbrella that's up to 66,000 and change. That's like with profit sharing and all these other things. that you can actually contribute to that people don't understand, but you cannot defer more from your salary than 22,500. And that can be all Roth, all traditional, or any combination of those two.
Is there a max salary that you can't contribute to a Roth?
Not on a 401k. So when you say
Okay.
Roth means tax, you get paid taxes now and you have tax-free growth. A Roth
Okay.
IRA, yes, there are income limits. On a Roth 401k, no income limits. So
Okay, got it. Thanks.
makes sense. And I have in this presentation, I have specifics about the Roth IRA limits and how to do a backdoor Roth, because that's important to know. Also, somebody like, hey, Marco, you asked a question or about what is TSP?
Yes, that was before I served. After I served,
Oh
so
yeah, okay, because it came out, yeah, not until like 2002, I believe, or something. I mean, it's not very old. So it's the military, it's the government's 401k, Thrift Savings Plan, and it's actually one of the things the government did right, except for they're trying to screw it up right now. In the last year, they've made some changes that are I don't agree with very well. Okay, next question. Most people are pre-tax, though. That's kind of what I thought, which will go into the decision of what's the right thing to do with your contribution. Okay, how many contribute at least 10% to the 401k? That's what the minimum you need at Viasat to get the max match of 5%. 2/3 do. Three out of 12 do not. That's unfortunate. You need to update that because that's free money you're leaving on the table. If you found a 20 on the floor, would you pick it up? Now you're throwing away thousands of dollars by not doing that. Don't get the 10%. Get it so you get your 5, and then one person maxes the annual contributions. Okay, hopefully after a while more people will max that out. This is great tax advantaged savings that you can use. Next question: if you don't max your 401k, have you set up auto increase? A third of people have. Great. Half of people have not. You can easily do that, and you should. That way you don't have to think about it. It just automatically happens. Or each year you get a raise, go and adjust your, update your, increase it until you can max out those contributions. I do personally think get the 10%, get the max match, then I go max my Roth IRA, then go back to like the 401k in terms of, where's your next dollar go? But we could go into hierarchy of saving and investing at a different time. Let's see, do you have an IRA? 1/6 have a Roth, 4 out of 12 have a traditional IRA. Okay, I'm going to share with you that you should get a Roth and you need a Roth. And okay, half people have both. Good. That most people do need both, especially to do the backdoor as well. But a traditional IRA for most people, especially retired military, you actually most people, period, cannot do a deductible traditional IRA because the income limits are so low when you have a qualified plan, a 401k that you're participating in. It's really low limits, which I'll show you.
Alan, I found that I got kicked out of the Roth IRA because of the income limits.
Yep.
And the Roth are fairly low, so it kind of forces you into the traditional IRA.
We'll talk. There's the backdoor Roth. That's what you need to do. So I have this procedure how to get that done. And I've been doing that for quite some time now. Actually since leaving the military. So okay. Do you max fund the IRA annually? 3 out of 12 said yes, 7 out of 12 said no. That's unfortunate. That's 2 out of 12 don't know. So 3/4 of people either don't or do not know if they've maxed it out. That's my, after you get your free money or in the match, that's what I fill up that bucket, that Roth IRA or the IRA as quickly as I can, and then go back if you can have extra money in other places.
So let me ask you this then. So if you're doing Roth on the 401k, what is the advantage of only doing the 10% and then doing the Roth IRA outside of the 401k and then going back?
Because in a Roth IRA, you typically have lower expense ratio, more options to invest in. Because I'm a big fan of Vanguard, Fidelity.
Okay, I gotcha. You like the investment options outside of the 401k better
Bingo.
So
And
okay,
there's
gotcha.
additional things with a Roth IRA that are, it's the all-purpose, all-terrain vehicle, the military version, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because you can, in an emergency, you could take out contributions. It would have to be an absolute emergency, but you can. You can use it in all sorts of ways, and but it's, and you can pull it out before 59 and a half if you wanted to as well. There's various rules, but it's better, it's less expensive, better investment options at lower expense ratios. So you want to invest that money first, then go back when you have more and fill up your 401k after you did that 10% initially. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, if you're not, okay, I think we covered that. So I hope everybody will be maxing out their IRA at 6,500 this year. Catch-up contributions, if you turn 50, an additional 1,000 for 7,500 that you can contribute to an IRA. If you're not retired military, do you have an HSA? 8 out of 12, 2/3 do not. That's unfortunate, especially if you're young, because when you don't go to the doctor very much. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say again, I kind of skewed your poll because I had to put no, even though I am retired. It wouldn't let me select
Yeah,
my poll without
sorry,
those last two on there.
that was poor on my
So
part.
I
should have said,
skewed your numbers.
yeah, I should have said, I'm retired. Given that an option. Sorry. And the last question: do you spend the HSA money annually or invest it? Most people spend it. That's unfortunate. Invest and pay out 1/4, invest and pay out of pocket, or use an FSA for dental and vision. Here's the thing with the HSA: it is triple tax advantaged. You, unlike an FSA, which you use or lose, but FSA also comes out pre-tax. But an HSA, you can invest that money and you pay your own medical stuff out of pocket. You can keep those receipts, like put them in Google Drive or somewhere, save them, and you can reimburse yourself 20, 30, 50 years later from your HSA after that's compounded and, doubled, 5, 10 times. So that's, if only 4% of the public uses an HSA properly like that, but that's what you want to do if you can. And our plan, you can also use a limited FSA. So an FSA also comes out tax-free, but you have to use it or lose it. So you can use that money though on dental and vision expenses. And so you're still getting that tax advantage there, but keeping your HSA money invested, let it grow, and then pay yourself back years and years later. Make sense?
Alan, what investment vehicles can you use to invest that HSA? I'm asking because my son he's in an HSA at his work.
Okay, and it depends on the plan. So you'd have to look at what options are available there, but it should be very similar to like the 401k, same, like probably there's like an S&P 500 type of index, there's variety. So, and that's what I would do, because it is the HSA takes advantage of both traditional and Roth. So you put in the money tax deferred, it grows tax deferred, and then you pull it out and use it for anything medical. It's tax-free earnings. Amazing. And if it's you pull it out from your paycheck, it also is quadruple tax advantage because you avoid FICA taxes as well. So pretty amazing. Okay. Sorry, I know
and that's 2,000 a year.
No, it's I think I want to check. It's either 3,750 or I think it's 3,850 this year that you can contribute as a single, and then a little, I think 7,700 if you're married.
That's significant.
Yeah, it's absolutely significant. So anyway, it's key. So okay, we're going to talk about TSP. Okay, so what should you do with your TSP assets post-military? Answer: what do you guys think? Of course, it depends.
Well, TSP has very low expense ratios, and I find that my investments in my TSP have always done as well or better than even like my Vanguard or Fidelity and other investments. So I just left. In fact, my wife rolled all of her old 401k from her old work into her TSP for those reasons, because the expense ratios are so low.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's good advice or not, but that's what we did.
No, it is good. It's last year they changed they changed a couple things a year ago, and yes, expense ratios are going up a little bit. They're still
I
good,
noticed
but
that.
it's frustrating. Like, hey, what do you? It was already
They
a great
switched.
plan, you know.
Yeah, they switched from Barclays to another investment firm, and when they did, it went up.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. So I have those numbers, but it's still better. Like when you look at the S fund, which went up to 0.09, it's still better like than our S our small cap fund. It is like 0.84%, you know, significantly higher. So but it really depends on, you know, what to do. There's not a straight answer what to do. How much is in your TSP? That matters, because if you have quite a bit, then it's a much bigger decision. If you only got like $5,000-$10,000, probably just roll it into an IRA, you know, or something, because it's not that significant, and just have better control of it. But what about if it's traditional or Roth or tax free from combat zone? If it's Roth, I would roll it into an IRA now, a Roth IRA. If it's traditional, which most people have. It's mostly traditional pre-tax money. That's a much tougher decision. And leaving it there, like you said, Tom, is probably the best thing, or for a lot of people. It also matters how good that 401k is. You got to look at expense ratios and your investing options. If the company has great options, you might want to just roll it in there, and we'll show another reason why you might want to roll it into your company's 401k. How old are you? When are you really gonna retire, or as I like to say, graduate? Because that matters too. You know, because having accounts all over the place can be confusing and hard to manage. But it's really not. There's a lot of tools now, like whether it's personal capital or even, you know, our 401k, other things. You can bring in everything together and have a picture. But asset allocation across those can be a little bit more of a challenge. But let's see here. But like I said, as you get near real official retirement, I would definitely be rolling it to something. And we'll go into those options. So there's basically 5 options. One, leave TSP where it's at. Sorry, I said 401k, but that's the same thing. Leave it where it's at. And Tom already kind of said that. We'll go into pros and cons, but they are good expense ratios. There's good options. There's like no fees are associated. And the investment options are just basic index funds, which is what I would recommend most people should do anyway. Low cost, broad-based index funds. And it's great. Here are the other options though. Roll it into an IRA. There's good and bad about that. Like I said, if it's Roth, I would roll it right now, because then you have better control and better options, and same, you know, even lower expense ratios at like Schwab, Fidelity, and Vanguard. Roll it into the current employer's 401k plan. There's certain good advantages to that. There's you could roll it into a deferred annuity. I'm not a big fan of that, especially if you have a retirement already. We'll go into annuities. There's a nice thing about lifetime income, but there's a lot of things you got to watch out about. And then withdraw it into a lump sum. Somebody said they did that. That's a big no-no in my opinion, because you're going to take 10% penalty and you're going to pay taxes on all of that. These are retirement accounts. So you want to use it for retirement, but now you're just throwing money away by taking a penalty. And I know some people, if you have less than $5,000 in an IRA, they just distribute it out to you. You don't have really a choice, but that's not a significant amount of money. But the thing about rolling it into an IRA, traditional IRA, is it really restricts your ability to do the backdoor Roth, which we'll go into. And so you want to avoid that. And that's where I know so many people. I was just talking to actually Bridget, when some of the people at the last veterans, you know, transition workshop, one of the guys said, yeah, I'm going to roll it right into, you know, my IRA. And I'm like, what, you know, why are you doing that? And then I explained to him, and he's like, whoa, I had no idea, you know, and that's why I do this is you can make a significant mistake that could significantly impact your overall, you know, lifetime taxes by not knowing, knowing these things. So let's go into each of these options. Leaving it where it is. Advantages, as we already said, low admin fees and expense ratios. If you notice, if you go into our 401k, you see every month there's like a $4.50 charge. And then there's, and then we have expense ratios on top of that for each of the funds. Most of them, some are good, some not so good, but you'll see those later. There is, in my opinion, it's good investment options. Sometimes there's too many choices, and this just has good standard choices to make. That it's got the C fund, which is the S&P 500, the top 500 companies in the U.S. The S fund, which is basically all small and mid cap, the Wilshire 4500. Right there with those two, you've got the whole total U.S. stock market, basically VTSAX for any of you Vanguard fans. And then they got the I fund, so you can get the international, and then a couple bond funds. Or you could do life cycle. I'm not a big fan of life cycle long term, but I'll explain that. And that's also why I would definitely roll my stuff into an IRA at near retirement because of control of distributions. That's very important. Here's the disadvantages. So like we said, having multiple accounts can cause a little more difficulty, making sure your asset allocation across all these is correct. Some people say there is a limited number of investment options, that there is, but I think that's in a sense kind of good. And then you can't take loans on the TSP, but I don't think that's a disadvantage really, because you shouldn't take loans on your TSP or 401k. That's just bad news in my opinion. Pensions were good because people couldn't spend the money ahead of time. So don't do it. This money is for retirement. So don't take loans or cash it out. And one thing that's significant is the money in 401ks, and there's a certain amount in IRAs, and if you roll it, it counts, but it is protected. People can't come at you. Even if you go bankrupt, that money stays yours. You could have $2 million in your 401k, go bankrupt, and you're still a millionaire despite being bankrupt. Pretty interesting. Anybody have any questions? There's all sorts of reasons not to take loans or cash out the 401k or TSP, but sometimes people want to disagree. Okay, but if you do need counseling, I can do that if you're thinking about taking a loan or cashing out. Okay, one important consideration when you're thinking about rolling over, there's a direct rollover or an indirect rollover. Indirect, it doesn't ever touch your account or anything, and that's the only smart way to do it, in my opinion, because it goes right from one company to the other. No chance of messing up. If you do an indirect and they send you a check, you've only got 60 days to get that to another custodian, or else it's a distribution and you're going to pay all those taxes and the 10% penalty if you're under 59.5. So don't do it indirect. Make sure you're doing direct rollover. Okay, next option, roll it into an IRA. And there's kind of three options here. You could do traditional TSP to traditional IRA, traditional TSP to Roth IRA. I don't recommend that because you're going to pay taxes on all that money that you convert to Roth. And you want to do that in a controlled fashion, doing Roth conversion. Roth TSP to Roth IRA, though, I do that right away. And you can take, if you have a split, like some of you said, you could take your Roth portion and roll that in to your Roth IRA, a Roth IRA, and keep the traditional part where it's at. So that's something good to know. But like I said, if you're already Roth, you could get even lower expense ratios, by putting into an IRA and open up your options if you wanted to invest in some REITs or some other, a variety of options rather than just the limited ones that they're in TSP. Advantages, consolidation. That's important, especially as you get down. More investment options, control over distribution. So here's the problem with TSP and the 401k that we have. When you go to distribute, you can't choose, like, say you want to pull just from say you took some money and put it in the stable fund, which is actually is not giving us good performance at all. But if you want to just pull from that because the market's down, you can't. It pulls proportionally from all the funds that you have invested. It withdraws from each of those in that same proportion. So it's pretty ridiculous in my opinion. that you can't control the distribution better. And that's why it's good to go get to an IRA where you definitely have control of the distribution. But that's the same with TSP and our 401k K plan. The other thing I don't like about the 401k is I wish you could invest the Roth money different and the traditional money separately, but it all just goes into the same numbers. But we'll see. Maybe we can get them to change that down the road. But like, I would much rather have, all stocks in my Roth portion and the growth part, and any bonds that I want, keep that in the traditional fraction. So disadvantages of the IRA, the pro rata rule and backdoor Roth, and we'll get into that in a second. And then once again, can't take loans on the TSP, but on the old, that's not a disadvantage. Okay, here's the income limits for the IRA as we were talking about. So on a Roth IRA, it's pretty restricted, especially in California. If you're single, you cannot contribute directly to a Roth IRA if your income is 153. Your 8 MAGI, which is modified adjusted gross income, is above 153K. 228K for married. That's just ridiculous. It's only like 70,000 more. Kind of frustrating. Look though about the traditional, Tom, the traditional IRA. If you have an employer plan that you're contributing to, look at those terrible income limits. You cannot do a tax deductible contribution. So there's the really only smart option then is to do the backdoor Roth, where you can have tax-free growth earnings for life. Here's how you do the backdoor Roth. So that's why half of the people had both a Roth and a traditional, and you should open up both. But you do a non-deductible contribution to a traditional IRA, invest it, and then there should be some waiting period. I would always just invest in the traditional IRA, let it settle, and then immediately convert it to Roth. But I learned that you're not really supposed to do that. There should be some waiting period. So you should probably wait a few months, probably just wait till December and then convert it. You might pay a little bit of taxes if you say you put $6,500 in and made 10% that year, $650, you'd pay taxes on, but then it would roll into the Roth forever. That would be tax-free growth forever. When you do this, yep, go ahead.
And Alan, just to make sure I understand it, and the reason why you can do that is because you're already over the income level, so you're paying after-tax dollars into that traditional IRA anyway, correct?
Correct.
You've already paid
Exactly.
taxes on it, and then you roll it over, because otherwise you'd have to pay the tax.
Right. And that's
deferred.
That's it, because it's after-tax money. Because typically your IRA money comes from your checking account, right? You've already paid taxes on it. You just do a direct, you set up a monthly or something like that. So exactly, you've already paid taxes. So then but then you can't take a deduction on that.
Right.
But then you just convert the whole thing into Roth, and then it's tax-free growth forever. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I've done that in the past.
Okay, keep doing that though, because here's the thing though. Like I said, if you took your TSP and you had you're going to use an example of, say you had $94,000 in pre-tax money and you put that in a traditional IRA, then you decide, hey, I like this idea of doing a backdoor Roth, right? So you put I'm just going to use easy number, 6,000, even though I know the annual limit's 6,500, 6,000 in the traditional IRA, non-deductible. And you just want to convert that 6,000 that you've already paid taxes on into Roth, right? And let it grow. Well, that doesn't work like that. The IRS sees all of your traditional IRAs as one big pool. So this analogy is the pre-tax money there is the cup of coffee. 94% of it is pre-tax, that money's never been taxed. The cream, that's your after-tax money that you're trying to do the backdoor Roth with. That's the 6,000. You pour that in, it all mixes together. They can't tell what's been taxed, what hasn't been taxed. So overall, out of that 100K in that IRA, 94% of that is pre-tax dollars. So you try to convert that 6,000 into Roth, you're going to pay taxes on 94% of that $6,000. Does that make sense? And yeah, it sucks. And that's why you don't just roll it into a traditional IRA. The thing is, if you did that, which you can do though, and this has worked for people I know. I said, hey, you can then roll it into your current company 401k. Now you have no money in your traditional IRA, and you can go back to using that backdoor Roth properly. That makes sense. I know this can be kind of confusing, but I want to make sure this is clear because this is a very important concept. Good. Okay. Okay, here's another way to do the backdoor. If they kind of close it, and this would be a small percentage of people, because you'd have to have a certain amount. But what you could do is contribute all to a pre-tax 401k, and then that lowers your AGI, right? So that's and then if your AGI drops below what is allowed for contributing to the Roth, you could contribute directly to a Roth instead of doing this backdoor conversion. And then if you wanted more of that Roth dollars, you could go back into your 401k plan and do an in-plan conversion of some of that pre-tax money to Roth. You'll still pay taxes on that money, but it's another way to that's a way to contribute to a Roth IRA. If you're just, say, within 22,000,
just a little over.
Yeah. Say you're within 22,500 over that limit, you could drop it down by doing a pre-tax 401k, and then your adjusted gross income meets the contribution limits for Roth. Make sense? Okay. Third, roll it over into the current employer 401k. Advantages, once again, consolidation. Take a loan out of the money, not a good idea. But the rule of 55 is the key here as well. So let's say the rule of 55, if you are with a company and you retire at 55 or any time after that point, you can start taking penalty-free distributions on that 401k, and you don't have to wait until 59 and a half. So it's a great deal. But let's say you don't have that much money in there and you don't have much in a brokerage account. Well, this would be a great time to roll that TSP money into your 401k, and then you'd have all that money in there to use for until you're 59 and a half, and can use your IRA and everything else, all your other qualified accounts. Does that make sense? This might be a two-step process. You might want to roll into an IRA and then roll some of that TSP money into a 401k, because you wouldn't want all of your money in that 401k, in my opinion, especially because how the distribution, like I said, is kind of works. But what you could do, I would think I'd want more conservative money, in that where I'm drawing down on, and then keep the rest, in the qualified account that I'm going to use after I turn 59 and a half. But that makes sense. And then disadvantage are kind of obvious, the potentially worse investments and or higher fees. Okay, so next one's rolling it into a deferred annuity. What is it? Anybody want? What's an annuity? Basically, well, it creates an income stream for life. It's kind of like creating your own personal pension. But this is what you hear. I don't know if you guys have heard this. Stock market like returns with no downside risk. I hear that, but it sounds too good to be true. It's likely is. There's everybody would love to have stock market returns with no downside risk, but it doesn't work that way. You're going to get some return, but it's not going to be the market, because there's a lot more that goes into this, unfortunately. And can you guys read that? They're confusing, and so the fine print matters. That's the thing. And here's the things about, you need to understand at least about annuity, the fixed index annuities. You don't actually own stock. it's sold by the insurance company, and they buy bonds and then call options on various stock indices. And and then there's all these restrictions on the money. There's a participation rate. So let's say 50% or 75%. So if they're going to make a certain only part of your, you're not going to be able to get all of that return that they're getting. You also have caps on what percent you can make, and those caps could be by a month, it could be over the year. And the problem with the market, sure, it returns on average 8 to 10% a year or whatever, but it doesn't go like that. It goes shooting up, shooting down, shooting up, so you won't get those gains when you're capped and have a small participation rate. Plus you're paying a spread, which is the difference. There's a percent that the insurance company is going to make money, and so you won't get the total interest rate that they're making. And then there's different riders you can use. Those are going to cost you money though too. Surrender charges. You don't get dividends, which that's part of where you make money in the market, is the dividends companies pay you. But since you don't actually have stock, you're not getting those either. And they can change the rules. So I'm not an annuity hater, but I do have a lot of concerns with them. And if you're going to, it's probably wise, like maybe as you're closer getting a SPIA or a MIGA, these, single, if you just want that kind of income stream for something else. But the best annuities are actually our military pension, federal pension, that's and actually Social Security, which might sound crazy, but it's inflation adjusted. And if you wait until you're 70, you can do that. You can increase your returns 8% per year after full retirement age. So the advantages, income stream for life, there's such a comfort in that. And so people that are very risk averse, that's a definite advantage. But they are costly. They're typically not inflation adjusted unless you use a rider, and they're not very tax efficient. If you did a TSP, it would be fine, but a lot of them are bought with after-tax money. And then when you actually withdraw, you're paying normal income tax rates on the interest. So it's not as tax efficient as like even a brokerage account where you're paying capital gains taxes. Any questions there?
You had a bullet on that last slide about the TSP annuity rate was like 4.75%. So you can, or 4.075. So you can roll your TSP into an annuity within TSP?
Not within TSP. So they have a company though that they use, and I just pulled that right off their I went in and researched it, and that's what their current rate is, which is probably a lot better than it was, with interest rates being higher now.
But that's going to adjust. Exactly.
That'll adjust based on what the actual interest rates are. So, and I remember for Tom probably is, for many years until these last years of crazy low interest rates, 4% was kind of considered the risk-free rate, that you could get. And so people are like, oh, we're in such a high interest rate environment. We're really not. We're kind of back to where back to normal. Which so and it's actually good if you're a saver. But if you're in debt, it's not the time. But this is actually better for people with fixed income and stuff like that. It's much better because you can actually get return now on bonds and CDs and stuff like that. So
I've got a checking account that's earning 5.1% interest right now.
Yeah. So okay, so here's the other thing too, is one people to understand, market's been down, last year was a bull, bear market. This is historically what the market has done though. Look at the blue is the bull markets. Look at, and the average bull market is about 9 years. Cumulative total return of 468% during that time. Whereas the average bear market's about 1.4 years, and a loss of 41%. Long-term investing is about long-term. Get it in the market, and you'll be happy long-term. You just can't. cash out, go to cash just when it's, like, and I know early I got freaked out by .com. It's, but we should all, want bear markets because you're buying it on sale. It's the only time where a sale, we're afraid of sales. Like it, I say, get as much as you can in, it will return. Yes, past performance is no indicator of, future performance, but do you guys believe in innovation? Do you believe companies will continue to make money? I believe so. And so keep investing. And if it's down, just always be buying. Any questions there? Okay. Here's just people understand, or different kind of a reminder of the age-related rules with the 401k and TSP. If you withdraw before 59.5, you pay income tax, assumed on pre-tax, and a 10% penalty. Like I said, rule of 55 is great. You can retire at 55 and withdraw from that company's 401k, and you can roll other 401ks into that and use that money as well. So it's great. Required minimum distributions. They Secure 2.0 just updated those for people born 51 to 59. It's age 70 instead of 72. And then anybody born 1960 or later is RMDs of 75. Which this is great because this goes into your ability to do Roth conversions during what's called the gap years. And I have a little chart that will show you that. But when you, like, especially in California, despite us being in historically low income tax levels, California is super expensive and is the highest tax state. So as your salary goes up, as you're getting older, that's when you want to start deferring more of those using the traditional. And then when you retire and your income drops and you're in a lower tax bracket, then you take some of that pre-tax money and you slowly start converting it. And you're very careful about it so that you don't bump into too high of a tax bracket. But let's say people that don't have a pension and they could like married couple could convert like almost $90,000 and stay in the 12% tax bracket right now, and get that all into Roth, pay very low taxes, and then have tax-free growth forever. It's incredible. But you want to if you don't have your Roth IRA, open one, put $1 in, because you need to start these 5-year clocks. You can't, the earnings are not tax-free until it's been at least 5 years. 5 years old. Same with the Roth 401k. So if you haven't contributed to the Roth 401k yet, put some in and get that 5-year clock rolling.
Okay, I don't understand that. Yeah, I don't understand your 5-year clock.
Okay, and that's its own. There's several 5-year clocks. So Tom, just due to time, I'll set that up as a different discussion. Okay. But the key is get Roth accounts at least started, and you start that 5-year clocks to have these as qualified distributions, meaning the earnings are also tax-free. Like I said, on a Roth, contributions to a Roth IRA, you can pull out at any time, tax and penalty free, but conversions and earnings, totally different. Contributions, conversions, and earnings are 3 different things. And so you need to understand that. The fortunate thing is when you take the money out, it comes out contributions first. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go, oh, I'm going to pull up. Nope. You pull out money. It's all your contributions come out first. Then your conversions come out. Then your earnings come out as you're withdrawing down. So that helps us out there as well. But here's the quick investment options. I'm not going into life cycle funds too much, but these are the basic investment funds in TSP. As you guys know, the G fund is like a bond fund of government securities. F fund's like kind of the Barclays, total bond market fund. C fund is the S&P 500. Like I said, S fund is like a small and mid cap fund, the Wilshire 500. So with those two, you've got the whole U.S. stock market, and then the I fund's the international fund. So that's what I recommend people invest in general, anyways. Those indexes. Maybe I also like small cap value and some other things, but it's very good in general. But this goes into the little more specifics and showing the expense ratios. And I put in there 2021 versus 2022. Like I said, there's some frustrations going on with TSP that they're actually increasing, they're not making it better by increasing the expense ratios. And that went up, enough. We don't want that. You can get better rates at Schwab Fidelity and Vanguard. And then there's a CPA that was in the FBI that wrote a nice letter that I got a link to there, that tell them how jacked up they were and to fix it. These are the life cycle funds, and life cycle funds are good for people initially, but it's easy to get your own. To me, they get conservative too fast for my taste. And so I put theirs there, like the 2025, 2045, and 2065, so that you can see those allocations. But I wouldn't want already over 60% bonds when, if when it's still a couple of years out. That, to me, I'd just rather control it myself. Plus, maybe I don't want as much international. I like a little more in US than international. So I like to it's pretty easy to control your own allocation. But any questions there on these? Okay, whoops, sorry. This you can find on our Empower, showing the list of our funds we have. And I just drawing into the importance of expense ratios. Vanguard did a great study showing that, hey, that's expenses, overall return is often determined most significantly by expense ratios. Our target date funds, good. Look, they're Vanguard funds. But now you go into this other funds and look at that emerging markets, 1.41 expense ratio, 1.41%. The small cap equity, 8.84%. These are even, I want to keep myself at least below 0.25, preferably below that. But that's kind of like my high water mark, if possible. But these are all of our options, and you can see. But the BlackRock, some of them are good, some are really good, but some of them not so much. But some are better than TSP, the BlackRock Equity Index. But okay, and this is just something I created before, just that people, it was just a way to think about the different types of accounts to use for retirement. I call it the 401k or TSP or dump truck, because you can put so much tax advantage money per year. Like I said, there's 22,500 up to 30,000, but you also have matching funds. And if you have your own side business, you could do a solo 401k and contribute an additional like 25% of earnings and get up to like $66,000 under that umbrella. Amazing. Health savings account, like I said, that's a fire truck. You can use it now, but it's if you can keep it, that's your best tax advantage account there is, if you can take advantage of a high deductible healthcare plan. If you're retired military, unfortunately, you can't use that. The IRA, like I said, it's military grade. The Roth IRA, it's so flexible, so many options available. It's something everybody should have and contribute after you get your match on the 401k. That's where my next dollars go. Brokerage account, I call that the tow truck, because you don't have, it's not qualified tax advantage, but that money will help pull you to retirement age. When you can take distributions from your qualified accounts like your 401k and your IRA, et cetera.
Now,
and then,
Alan, you can do an IRA in a brokerage account, though. I mean, I've got a couple that I actually actively trade stocks inside of an IRA brokerage account.
Well, you can do that. It's the only an IRA is just a brokerage account with specific tax advantages.
Right.
I mean, it's just a separate account, but you absolutely can. All I'm saying is what I mean, Tom, is it's a regular taxable brokerage account that you can pull that money out. There's no age restriction on that. You're going to pay capital gains and taxes on dividends, but that's where, to me, I think of that as used for shorter, long-term goals. You know what I mean? What pulls you to retirement, to where you can then use all the tax advantage money from your IRAs and your 401ks and health savings account, et cetera. And then Social Security, I put that kind of like, because who knows? Even if the trust fund runs out, the current employees are funding like 77% of it. So it's not going away. Too many people depend on it. But I kind of slice it in half. I show that as a civic, because it's your best long-term annuity, you know, aside from the federal pension. And if you wait, you can, you know, last, you can, that your amount of money that you get out of it goes up 8% per year. Here's like talking about, here's one of the challenges of having all these separate accounts. You still want your overall allocation to be the same. So it takes a little more work. And that's why as you get closer to retirement, you want, in my opinion, to put it all kind of together. So it's just one, you know, one spot or a couple of spots, because you'll have multiple buckets, the tax deferred bucket, you know, your pre-tax, your Roth, and brokerage. Sorry, excuse me. Here's kind of a timeline. And what I want to show here is kind of like we were talking about those gap years. So I gave several examples. Say somebody works from 25 till 55 and then retires. They've got all this room from, you know, use an example of someone that's 25 years old this year. And in 2053, they've got almost 20 years to do Roth conversions to get that tax deferred money, you know, over to tax-free growth for life. But a couple of different, you know, just different things here that I think are useful to know. Okay, too many people, this is what they have. Hopefully that's changing, but yeah, they have all their money in tax deferred because they're only thinking about taxes today. Whereas ideally, it's not perfect 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but you want to have tax flexibility for life. You want some in a traditional pre-tax, some Roth, and some in a brokerage account. And then you have maximum tax flexibility for all of your life. And then just the importance of compounding. Yeah, this is, you know, does everybody know what the rule of 72 is? Regina, you want to explain what that is?
The rule of 72 basically tells people how long it'll take for their money to double. So basically, if you take any interest rate and you divide it by the number of 72, it'll tell you how long it'll take your money to double.
Correct. And divide that. Let's say you get an 8% rate of return. You divide 8 into 72, that's 9. So this is without contributing any additional money. So say you had $100,000 in 9 years at an 8% rate of return, you'd have $200,000. And then another 9 years later, you'd have $400,000, and on and on and on. And so that's not even counting contributing, which would obviously make that double faster. But when you think about it, too many people go conservative too early, and they miss that last doubling, which is the most important one, the one that goes from 1 to 2 million, 2 to 4 million, or 4 to 8 million. You know what I mean? So it's just something important to consider. Real quick, everybody, this is your homework. Some things that you should do. One, if you don't know, check your TSP investment and check all your accounts to make sure your overall allocation is correct with what you want. Whether if you want 80-20, 70-30, 100-0, whatever. But take a look across those. Check your beneficiaries, because when TSP moved to a different holder, some people lost their beneficiaries. So make sure you check that. That takes a couple of minutes, but make sure that's so important. And every year you should do that on all your accounts. And then update your contributions. Those of you that didn't do auto increase or not doing the 10%, update it. So get that free money. You're just throwing it, thrown away. Here's other potential topics we want to explore. And then if you guys, these are just for everybody. And then here's specific veteran specific topics. And if you have other items, topics, let me know. Be happy to delve into them. But we'll do these quarterly. And then I've got too much going on through July. I'm actually taking a big exam in July that I'm trying to set for. But I'll be kicking off more after that. So any questions? Here's kind of questions for you, but you guys have any questions, or did I?
No, Alan, I've got to go to another meeting, but man, I really enjoyed this, and thanks for setting these up. It's very informative. Excellent. You're welcome. Thanks, Tom, and appreciate all your input. That's what makes these worthwhile is hearing people sharing their stories and their knowledge as well makes this much better. Any other questions? Anyone? No. Okay. Well, I'm gonna, if I can, stop recording.
And stop sharing. Okay, well, thanks everyone. You guys have a great weekend, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.